Alright, good evening everybody. Just wanted to continue the idea I was talking about this morning about how Judaism doesn't have to be that hard. Now, a lot of people enjoy living a strict lifestyle. And that's great. And I'm one of them. I don't do everything perfectly. I mess up all the time, but that's part of life. You gotta constantly be doing tshuva, constantly repenting, constantly returning to God, no matter what we're doing. But we have to, again, like I said in the previous video, look at the difference between what is an absolute obligation on every Jew, what is an obligation to a member of a particular community, and what is not an obligation at all, what is just something that's nice to do, or maybe not even, according to some opinions, wrong to do. You can do tshuva on those things too, you know? And a lot of people assume that like it's all or nothing. That's certainly not true, but even there, with the all or nothing issue, which is, you know, it's common for like people who are you know, in the kiruv world to say, well, it's not all or nothing. It's not really true. I mean, you really don't get the full benefit of the Jewish lifestyle unless you go all into it. But then the question is, what's really the all? What's the main things? What's the more important things? Shabbos, kashrus, taras mishpacha, davening 3 times a day, men putting on tefillin, holidays, you know. But then again, there's a strict way to do all these things, and there's the basic way to do all these things. And we have to know the difference. You know, I mean, and like I mentioned before, you know, what I had seen, Rabbi Yonatan Halevi said the famous medrash about Adam and Chava, and Adam told Chava, Adam told Eve, you know, God said, we're not allowed to eat from the tree, not even allowed to touch it. And then the snake, and that's what the scripture says, and the snake, but the medrash says, the legend says that the snake pushed her against the tree, and then he said, look, you didn't die, you touched the tree, so then you could eat from it too. And what Adam should have said was, God said don't eat from the tree. I'm saying, to be on the safe side, don't even touch it, but God never said that. And I think this is what we have to understand. Now, the issue is in halakha. God did say, lo sasur, don't deviate from what the rabbis teach you. But what is that obligation? Is it anything every rabbi ever said falls under lo sasur? You could debate yes and no about that, but the main thing is that the only things that apply to all of Klal Yisrael, to every Jew, are the halachic decisions of the great Sanhedrin, based in a Gadol Sh'Yushalayim. That's it. Everything else, it goes by from community to community. And so if there's something that's not clear, you follow your community's standards. Now, there is, you know, no one community that just says go by whatever's the most lenient opinion. But, and so you're doing something wrong, you know, just always following the most lenient opinion in a certain sense. And so in that certain sense, you know, we always say, like, these are the things we're taught in yeshiva, and it's true, and it's like that in Chazal already, that you should follow either Shammai according to all of his chumras and all of his kulas, or Hillel and all of his chumras and all of his kulas, but not just the kulas or just the chumras. You're supposed to have a teacher. You're supposed to have where you get from. But the thing is that we live in a society today where we don't have people we have people who are totally not frum, and trying to bring them back to at least a basic Yiddishkeit. Most of the Erlechiden who I know will say, you have to deal with each person where they are. Ba'asher Husham, everyone on their level. And so, you're not necessarily going to be, accepted into the community so strongly if you're, dealing with, just going by everything very lenient. But are you doing a sin in front of God? And you're not a member of a community you're not living in a community. You're doing whatever you can, however you can. That's why it's important to have a Rav who knows what he's talking about. I'm absolutely not telling anybody here to listen to me. And I don't want anyone to say, well, now Rabbi Kolakowski's my Rav. If I don't know you personally, I'm not your Rav. And I really don't like to be anybody's Rav. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy. I'm a chaplain. I work as a rabbi. That's my profession. I try my best to help people. But, but you have to know, certain things, quite often, more often than not, you should ask advice from a Rav, if he has time. I know a lot of Rabbanim are busy. They don't have time to answer all the questions that people ask them, But you have to know, what are you ready for? You explain to your Rav, I'm not ready for all this now. What do you suggest to me is the most important things for me to focus on, and so forth? For me, where I'm standing now, is it acceptable for me to rely on certain leniencies? Maybe some point later in my life, I'm gonna be more strong. But right now, this is all I'm ready for. I mean, the question else has to be, well, what are you struggling with? There are certain things that no Rav can give a heter for. Right? No Rav can give a heter to say that Shabbos is Sunday. No Rav is going to give you a heter, to be with your girlfriend who's a nida. It's not going to work. No Rav can give a heter for a lot of things. With that being said, you can ask, well, which of these are the lesser of two evils? Well, these types of questions, and these are things that you have to discuss. And it's not a heter. It's not saying you're allowed to do this. It's saying if you're going to do one or the other, which one is less bad? These are the type of questions you have to ask. You have to know. But that being said, there has to be education of we assume a lot of things that are difficult for people, that there's no way. It is what it is, and it's not really true. A lot of things are different opinions. And we shouldn't be forcing someone. And a responsible Rav will understand the people who he's dealing with, and understand this is where you're holding now. This is what you should be focusing on now. But then if you and it's true even with things that are not really like with extra things that people do, it's important to have guidance in these things as well, meaning don't go and say, I'm gonna wear tefillin all day and fast, fast every Monday and Thursday, and this and that. Maybe you're not ready for that. Well, I'm fine. I can handle it. I'm not gonna get hungry. But no, what's gonna be? You're gonna start doing these things. It's gonna go to your head. And the whole purpose of those things is to humble you, and instead you're gonna think you're this big tzaddik because you're wearing tefillin all day, and you're fasting Monday and Thursday, but you're not doing other things that are basic things, and so therefore you're eating non-kosher meat, but you're fasting Monday and Thursday, I mean, you're not even really keeping Shabbos, but you're fasting Monday and Thursday, I remember years ago, I was at a bris at a Chabad house, and a guy at the shul in Queens, the Young Israel shul where I grew up, a Lubavitcher guy, he became a Lubavitcher. His brother, this guy, he looked up to his brother very much. His brother could barely read Ivra, he could barely say Ashrei, I saw by the bris, the guy had a big long beard and the kapota and the hat and everything, and they gave him to read the brachas, and he couldn't read it. That's not what I'm even talking about. So that's a halbut surah. Why do you have a long beard and the kapota if you don't know how to read yet? But again, nochamal, it's a halbut surah. But this was what it was ingrained in my mind. This bris. There was a guy there. This guy, he was at least intellectually honest. He was clean shaven, and he wasn't wearing a hat, He was putting on Rabbeinu Tam tefillin. And someone said, "Oh, you put on Rabbeinu Tam tefillin?" And he said, "Yeah, I drive to shul on Shabbos by put on Rabbeinu Tam tefillin." He understood himself how ridiculous that is. But that's Chabad, because the Rabbeinu Tam tefillin is more important to them than Shabbos. It's nonsense. And I put on Rabbeinu Tam tefillin, but it says it says in Shulchan Aruch you have to be muflik b'chasidus. So then some people say, well, that only means you wear them both at the same time. If you wear one after the other, then you don't have. Then even a Pashut Yid could put on Rabbeinu Tam tefillin after, meaning you're not wearing them both at the same time. You're wearing it for a minute after, after you're done davening. But Machal Shabbos, you drive and you put on Rabbeinu Tam tefillin. Are you out of your mind? Like what? The same thing. The people in Machal Shabbos, they made a siyum on Tanya. I'm not making a siyum on Mishnayos first, Learn a Gemara like Masechta Megillah, something like that. Making a siyum on Tanya. You're fooling yourself, first of all. You think you understand the Tanya, And again, Chabad is good for those people. What can I say? I'm not, I don't forgive them. It's fine, whatever. The problem though is when they think they're better than everybody else. But these types of things, it's kind of. No, you don't see that it's ridiculous. If someone is Michal Shabbos, he should be putting on Rabbeinu Tam tefillin. Like, there's something weird about that, no? But anyway, with that being said, though, I was talking before about the Jewish identity. Meaning, what point does someone totally lose their Jewish identity? And there's really not too many issues of observance that a person will lose their Jewish identity over. They're mostly issues of belief. They're not bikuras. Someone doesn't believe in God. Someone doesn't believe that God gave us the Torah. Someone who doesn't believe in the resurrection. So, basically, what's been understood by most of Orthodox Judaism these days, Even though not everyone agrees that the 13 principles of faith from Maimonides are Jewish beliefs. The only question is, are they basically dogmas, for lack of a better term? I remember Rabbi Blinsky, Zechron Livracha, said these are the dogmas of Judaism. And yes, there's an argument between the Rambam and, say, the Sefer Ikrim and the other Chokrim. Which ones are the dogmas of Judaism? Even the Sefer Ikrim basically includes in his 3 Ikrim all the Yud Gimel are included, meaning they're the 3 categories. That's really what it comes down to. All right, they're Chalukei Deis, they're different opinions in Rishonim, and even in Shas and so forth. If these are Ikrim, these are, for lack of a better term, the dogmas of the Jewish faith. But this is what normative Judaism today accepts: the Yud Gimel Ikrim, the 13 principles of faith. These are the dogmas of Judaism. Essentially, someone who denies these today, they lose a certain aspect of their Jewish identity. It doesn't mean they become a Gentile, but it means that they have a din of Yisrael Mumar. They're considered Jewish heretic. They're not. They don't have the privileges of the Jewish community. It's a big question if they count for a minyan. Not really much of a question. They don't count for a minyan. Some people, they're going to argue, and I know Rav Moshe has a very good tshuva on this, and I hear what he's saying, and I rely on it just because of the community that I live in. But the truth of the matter is, the Ikra Din is that no, even really Michal Shabbos before Hesia he loses part of his Jewish identity. But then the question is, what's the Michal Shabbos before Hesia? I mean, Chacham Ovadia has a different approach, which is very nice, and I think, to me, Chacham Ovadia's approach makes a little bit more sense than Rav Moshe's approach. Although Rav Moshe's approach, he has a good svara, but Chacham Ovadia and Chacham Ovadia doesn't have I don't think his svara is as strong, because Rav Moshe says basically like this. Rav Moshe says, as far as doing anything in shul, what we call davar shebekadusha, anything that needs a minyan, you could count a Michal Shabbos. You could count even a kofer be'ikra, because why? Because we learn it out from the Nikdashti B'Seich B'nei Yisrael, B'Seich Oeda Zois, and Eida Me'eda, Ad Mosei La'eda Hara. That's what we learn in 10, and they were, and they might have had a din of Kfira, but also Nikdashti B'Seich B'nei Yisrael is that the halacha is that when a person is dying as a martyr, and there's a difference if it's public or private. And the public means in front of 10 Jews, and private means not in front of 10 Jews, even if there's 1 million non-Jews there, but there's only 7 Jews, then it's not Kiddush Shem Shemayim Barabim. And that when we're discussing as to whether or not the 10 Jews, they could all be kofrim, they could all be heretics, they could all be deniers of our faith. Okay. Total apostates, but as long as they're Jewish, and that's Rav Moshe. So he says that any davar shebekadusha in a shul, you can say with any 10 Jews. They don't have to believe in anything. The only thing is, you don't have the schus of tefillah b'tzibur. Everything else you have, but not the schus of tefillah b'tzibur, which is really, in many senses, the main point of davening with the minyan is tefillah b'tzibur, of public prayer. It's not considered a public prayer, but you could say Kaddish and Baruch Hu and Kedusha and even Chazaras Hashatz and Kriyas Torah with any 10 Jewish men. We can have the whole discussion, men and women, you know. a good friend of mine says that there are more sources to count a woman who is a Shomer Shabbos, Shomeres Shabbos, in a minyan than is to count a man who's not a Shomer Shabbos. But we for Lazicha for Moshe is the Gadol Ador. So it's a big chiddush what he's saying. But we conduct for Lazicha for Moshe, that's especially now the whole of Klal Yisrael is Talmidim, but most of Klal Yisrael, in a certain sense, are his Talmidim. They accept his psak, Shalom al Yisrael, and it makes sense what he's saying. He brings a good svara. Chacham Avadia has a different approach about the question of the Mechal Shabbos before Hesia, because then again there's a whole question of Mechal Shabbos before Hesia. What's before Hesia? Meaning, if someone, even everybody knows that they drove to shul, they know they live too far away from shul. They're coming to shul. They park 2 blocks away and walk the last 2 blocks to shul, or the last block, or whatever. They try to hide that they're Mechal Shabbos. They're embarrassed that they're Mechal Shabbos. This is not a din of Mechal Shabbos for Hesia. They could count for minyan. Most people will accept that. Chacham Avadia takes a little further. He says the Shomer Shabbos, it's like a lashon ba'aviv shomer as a davar. That shmira means to cherish something, so forth. That anyone who says the words Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh HaShabbos, they say Kiddush Friday night, they daven in shul on Shabbos, has a din of a Shomer Shabbos as far as being part of Klal Yisrael. Doesn't mean it's not an aveira when they make Chilul Shabbos. What it means is, it doesn't mean that it's not a sin that they break Shabbos. What it means is that they're considered Jewish. And someone who doesn't say Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh HaShabbos, or answer Amen to someone saying Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh HaShabbos, blessed art thou, O Lord, who sanctifies the Sabbath. Meaning, by saying though is kind of not really Jewish. They're not a Gentile, but they're not Jewish. But if they say Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh HaShabbos, it shows that they recognize there's such a thing as Shabbos, and that's Chacham Avadia's approach, which is less inclusive. Like Reb Moshe's approach is radically inclusive, and yeah, it makes sense. So both are in a sense true. Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim Chaim, we could say, but it's a big chiddush what Reb Moshe said there. It's also a big chiddush really what Rav Avadia said, but again, Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim Chaim. But then again, there are a lot of the Chreidei Shavel to say no. You have a minyan, and not all 10 are Shomer Shabbos. It's not a minyan, and it might be, and on Shabbos itself, and they Mechal Shabbos to get there could be mitzvah b'avera. You have both sides. Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim Chaim. The point that I was saying there essentially is that the one who's saying, we're discussing about the Jewish identity. That's what. So then the next part though that we can discuss is what exactly is Shmir Shabbos, like we were saying before in the last video. Is it Chilul Shabbos to use electricity? Which one of the Lamed Tes Melachos is it? There are some opinions that say it's a fire. Some opinions say it's Bona. And a lot of people are Machmir according to, especially the Chazon Ish, who held it as the Isser of Bona. It's a prohibition of building, or Makab Patish, the last hammer blow, and that's why we're not allowed to use electricity on Shabbos. But there are many opinions. We know that Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, although he did not permit the use of electricity, he said it's not really Chil Shabbos. He just said we don't do it because we don't do it. But there's no reason not to, essentially, really. Except perhaps with the incandescent bulbs, because it produces both light and heat, or, I mean, it would be the same issue with the electric stoves that heat up and glow. Those could be an actual, at least an Isser D'Rabbanan. It would actually be prohibited, at least on a rabbinical level, to use the those types of electricity, the incandescent bulb, something that produces both light and heat, is similar enough to fire, even though it's not really fire. And the incandescent bulbs, it's close to being fire. There is one to say that's like fire, So so this is one issue that we have here. I mean, and it should have to work both ways. If it's fire, then, like I think it was Rabbi Yitzchak Elchanan who said that you should be able to make Brei Reish for Havdalah on an incandescent bulb. And I think he Bedavka did. And what about using? I think most people agree that Shabbos candles you can use electric. But what about Hanukkah candles? A lot of people say as long as it's a battery and not plug-in. Different opinions. But these were things that were discussed over the past century, and there are different opinions from different Gedolei Yisrael, and we should not imagine that it's black and white. And if there are contemporary Gedolei Yisrael, I mean, I say contemporary, in the past 150 years, who permitted these things, why are we saying that someone who relies on that is a Mechal Shabbos? It's maybe something we don't do. I mean, it's the same thing like, in our circles, we only eat machine matzah on Pesach. I mean, we don't eat machine matzah on Pesach. We only eat handmade matzah. There are other Gedolim who said that the machine matzah is better than the handmade matzah. There are different opinions. And so in our circles, the Sanzarov, he said that basically the machine matzah is chametz. But in Yerushalayim, the Badatz Eidech Haredus gives a hechsher for machine matzahs because what's his name? Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, the Rav Yerushalayim, he said that they were better. So we're going to say it's chametz. Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld said it's more kosher, and we look up to him. He's one of ours. So as far as certain political things, and so we're the same thing. Chol Yisrael, certain people are going to say, Chol of Stam, it's mamish and Isser D'Rabbanan. And maybe even Isser D'Oraisa Bismanan said, because it could be an issue of Chol of Treifa. But still, most of the Klal Yisrael accept that Reb Moshe's Kula that says that really we have enough of the idea that the milk in America has a din of Chol of Yisrael. And so it's totally mutter. But Hamachmir Tavei Love Bracha, he said. Do we dare say that those who rely on this, they're eating treif. The Gedolim, they have what to say, but we have to be honest. There are certain things that the same thing. When is Shkia? When does Shabbos begin? Everybody in America starts Shkia at Shabbos. In Europe, 80 years ago, people would still be doing malacha, and it's a good 20 minutes after Shkia. I saw once, it was an article they were discussing. There's a girl, I think her father and her mother are both conservative rabbis, but they want to send their daughter to Orthodox day school. But the mother puts on tefillin, the daughter puts on tefillin. So they say to the daughter, you can't put on tefillin at school. So she gets up early every morning, goes to minyan, davens to the minyan early with tefillin, and then comes to school. And there's a whole discussion. And one of the rabbis, he said, even if you have some opinion, this is not normative. And should we allow kids? They're not frum. They want to come to a Shabbaton with NCSY, and they're going to rely on in Al Tahaim, people would be doing malacha till it's a half hour, maybe even more after Shkia. They wouldn't even light candles because it's a shaila. Can you even light candles because if you follow like Rabbeinu Tam, the Shitaso, and then when it comes to Plaga Mincha, it's not yet Plaga Mincha. You can't even light candles until just around Shkia. And so they light candles maybe even 10 minutes after Shkia. That's how it was in the old days. But they'd be keeping Shabbos on the other side later. You have to understand, But so what is it? What do we, And so eventually you get to a point. You ask a Rav, you're stuck in the bus and here, it's not the bus. We're still 20 minutes away from wherever we gotta go. Should we just get out and start walking? And it means that we're 20 miles away. There's going to be a bigger Chil Shabbos because then by the time you get there, you went out to Tchum and you actually broke Shabbos when it's actually Shabbos, right? So after a while you find the Rabbanim, they say you keep going until you get there, unless it's maybe 40 minutes after Shkia, then already it's too late, People think, it's Shkia. So where do you find the balance? How do you? So the truth is, you have to push. All right, I understand. You're making a Shabbaton. You want to give someone an experience, so they should have the full normative experience when we start Shabbos and Shkia. But maybe yes, maybe no. You have to know where. You have to know where one well. It's not so bullshit. I'm not saying we should be doing malach after Shkia. That's what's normative here in America. And Satmarav said, because in Europe, in Hungary, they would do malach well after Shkia. Satmarav said in America, you light candles 15 minutes before Shkia. In Europe, they used to light candles 15 minutes after Shkia. So yes, because we live in America, and a lot of people do 18 minutes, whatever. Satmarav didn't like 18 minutes. He said 15 minutes. He said, why make 3 minutes more Chilul Shabbos? The Americans, they're going to be in Chilul Shabbos anyway. Why give them 3 more minutes of Chilul Shabbos? But by him, the big thing was a Machrim L'Tzeis Min Shabbos is more than Maharim Lava. A famous thing brought from Berman Chaim. Anyway, to be realistic, what we're dealing with. And so if someone's going to farlazich of different major Gedolei Israel in the old days who were 100% matir electricity, or they were matir electricity other than incandescent light bulbs. And you're dealing with someone like this, who's not even from yesterday, and now he's trying to. And it was I can't handle this much, and they give people such a hard time, When they talk about half Shabbos, like kids, they can't, they texting on Shabbos and using their phones on Shabbos, everything else they keep. And the truth is, right, Me'ikaver Din, maybe they're not doing anything wrong, but a person has to grow up a little bit, It's hard, I understand, You got to know who you're dealing with. They're talking about something, the Shabbos app. There's an app on the phone that makes sure that there's no noise, so it's not mashmiya kol, and there's no it doesn't heat up. Certain other things to make it mutter to use the phone on Shabbos. It eliminates any question, both with the Raisim and the Rabbanim. But the thing is no one's going to really give a heter for that. But the thing is for somebody who's just starting, or someone who's struggling, you have to know. You have to know what to deal with. There was this Shabbos switch, the light switch. There was a grama and all this. A lot of big Rabbanim, who I know personally, approved it. And then, when people started giving them a hard time, they took away. They said, no, we're chayzer. Because it's politics, not halach anymore. But the truth is, though, all of those Rabbanim said, ask your own Rav. They never said it's mutter for all Klal Yisrael. They said, ask your Rav. Can I farlazich of this and this? What situation is it? A nursing home? Is it an old person? Is it someone has a din of a choila? You have to know what you're dealing with. And we don't want anyone to have a din of a choila, but maybe today everybody's a din of a choila. A lot of these people today might have a din of a choila. There's certain things even for a choila you can't do. But so you have to know what, where, when, why. It's elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim. And we gotta know how to deal with people. And so someone, same thing, someone that might not be able to handle davening 40 minutes in the morning, even 20 minutes in the morning. They can't say all the words, even if they're reading in English, or whatever language they speak. Well, you don't have to say all this stuff. I mean, they told me this when I was a kid, and I loved saying. I was like, how could I skip any of this? I didn't even know what I was saying. Couldn't imagine. I still can't imagine skipping. Now I can say things fast enough that I can catch up. And the other day I was at the minyan. I got there a little late, and I was able to catch up, not skipping anything, and I was able to catch up and say Shemoneh Esrei together, start together with them. That's also because they took a little bit longer in Kriya Shema. But we gotta know what we're dealing with. It's so maybe you only have to daven for like 7 or 8 minutes. You say the morning brachas. You could say you don't even have to say the whole Baruch Shamar. You don't even have to say the whole Ashrei. Maybe you say just Pesach Zidech, just part of the Yishtabach, and the Birkas Kriya Shema. You don't have to say the whole thing. There's a lot of things there you could leave out, and like my friend Reb Asher Mezi made a siddur of what you have to in the Shemoneh Esrei. Really doesn't have to be that long, or maybe you want to say Tfilas Havinenu. It's maybe not Meikra Din like that, but same thing benching. People are scared to bench. People are scared to wash. They make mezainis of things that they should be making a mitzi on probably because they don't want to bench. And the benching, and that's Meikra Din. And I say the whole benching, but you look what the Rambam has for benching. Ben Ish Chai brings it down for women and children, but really a man could say it too. Benching doesn't have to be so long, So you put on tefillin and you daven a little bit. You say a quick Shemona Esrei. You say Shema and the brachas and this, and Shalom Al Yisrael. You don't have to say everything. You say as much as you can, but know what's the main things. Know what the most important things are, and then when you have more time, you say more. See, that's the problem with these skipping this stuff like this. Then eventually you're going to be like, that's all you're going to do, and you're going to be set in your ways. And no, you should have a goal to do more, but you should know what the bare minimum is, what you're obligated to do, and then you have time, you do more, because this is the generation we live in, And I know the Rebbe Melech, there's a whole story. He wanted to make the siddur shorter, and Anshe Knesset Gedolah came to him and said, "No, you make tefillah kudmul tefillah. We're mehaltzich zayeh shvacha dor." But the thing is, what you have to understand though is that if you're going to wear a long beard and payas and a shtreimel and a bekasha, you should be holding already by saying the whole davening. The thing is, maybe you grew up like this, but for sure, Baal Tshuva something shouldn't be putting on all this stuff unless they're saying all the davening and living a normative life, and even with that, I question how important it is, One thing, you're a Rav, you're a rabbi in a shul, something, and you want to look like a rabbi, The galachim I work with, they have their collars and their robes and things, and and so too. So we have our robes and our costumes, People, they get obsessed with the hats and this and that, and I was like that. I'm guilty of that, and I still do it, and I still wear all this stuff. But like, I've realized, it's not as important, For me, I liked it. A lot of people like it. Maybe I shouldn't have. I was talking to this one guy who's a friend of mine. And he said, he has in his tradition, it's Orthodox Christianity, and he has a lot of people they converting to Orthodox Christianity. And right away, they want to grow long hair and a long beard and wear long robes and tuck their socks into their pants like Ger Chassidim and this. And, there's a reason why by us, a lot of the Rebbes say, no, wait, don't put on the shtreimel, the spudik right away, don't. But elu different Kim Chaim. Some Rebbes are like, yes, you gotta wear, you want to be in my chotzer, you're gonna dress like this. Elu different Kim Chaim. I know the Pittsburgher Rebbe and Ashdodi pushes very much the shtreimel. Very much. Other Rebbes say b'shum nicht. No. Belzer Rebbe says no. If you're Baal Tshuva, wear dress a Litvisher dress. Even that, do we really need it? It's enough to be modern Orthodox in the dress for sure. Maybe first things first. I mean, that's the thing. You want to have a goal like that to put on the whole levush, It's the whole Shemona Begadim, maybe first work on keeping Shabbos. Work on midas. Work on same thing. I remember someone asking Rabbi Weinberger about wearing tchelis. He said, you got other things to work on first. And it's the same thing. Rav Shach said, everything's perfect already. We're holding already by teaching Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. The whole Klal Yisrael's already from, and we have to go teach Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach to the rest of the world. But the thing is, that I don't like that attitude. I like better the attitude, like Rabbi Lazarus said. No, why only Shem Mitzvahs? Become a Ger Tzedek, So these are the questions we have to deal with. Think about who you are, what you want to do. But same thing, kashrus. There are many big rabbanim. There's a lot what to farlazich on, to say that you could mamish eat, even though I myself would never do such a thing. But there are a lot of people say you could eat a cheese pizza anywhere, as long as there's no meat on it. Even if meat was cooked there in the same oven, you could eat it, because it's already a tampogam or this and that, and it's listed shishim and this, and there's no not bar not, all these things. There are different views. What about Gavina Sakum? Rav Soloveitchik, the big Rav Soloveitchik, he would eat regular cheese from America. He said didn't have a din of that you have to have Gvinas Yisrael. Different opinions. I wouldn't rely on that. But you're 100% from if you could rely on these things. Thank you for watching. God bless you. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you later.